from your PHLV radio family, Merry Christmas and all the best in the coming year.
Merry Christmas from your friends at PHLV Radio.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Buhay Bahayan. My name is Francis, and my co-host, Miss Mia Casino, on the other line, on Zoom.
Hi,
Hello,
welcome
Mia.
to Buhay Bahayan at Iba pa.
How are you? I can see your hand is. Let me see your hand. Let me see your hand. Say hi. There you go. It was blurred out there. Okay. Yeah, how's everyone doing today? Pretty good?
Very
Pretty
good.
good?
A week before Christmas.
I know, huh? I know. Yeah, we have a very, very interesting topic today. He is a friend of mine. Way back Wells Fargo days, and we have a very interesting topic as well. And without further ado, he is a crazed entrepreneur, and we have a very interesting topic called the rise of esports. So, a lot of people are going to be, most of the young kids and even adults are into, a lot of gaming nowadays. So we wanna tackle into and dive into that world there. So without further ado, our very special guest, he is a crazed entrepreneur, and that's how I should introduce him. His name is Mr. Morris Jackson. Welcome in the studio.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Morris. So, okay, just quick overview. How long have you lived in Vegas?
I lived in Vegas now for going on 28 years. Moved here back in, I would say, late 1996.
Oh, wow.
And left for a couple years to Florida. Back in 2010, quickly realized Florida was not meant for me. Too many hurricanes, too many bugs, the humidity was unbearable. So I quickly found my way back to Las Vegas. There's no place like Las Vegas.
So you were accustomed to the dry heat here.
Yes, very much so.
Before that, were you like here in Vegas?
No, before Vegas, originally from San Diego, California. So always West Coast.
Like perfect weather to not so perfect weather, and then worse weather.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, because of San Diego being so expensive, I didn't go back to perfect weather. Yeah. So I just went back to not so worse weather.
Yeah. I actually moved from the Philippines, moved to small city. I think it's a big city now, Chula Vista.
Yes. Yeah, it's big now.
So, moved there, coming to the United States, and then it was like, perfect weather here and all year round. It's like 80s, 90s until you get the heat waves and all that. Yeah, we didn't have any air conditioning. You
didn't need it out there.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, when I didn't realize, 'cause I left San Diego when I was young, but you don't realize that old saying, you never realize what you have until it's gone. Yeah. I didn't realize until my later years as an adult the true benefits of that Southern California weather. Like I'd never had to think about what I was going to wear. I never had to think about if I was wearing a sweater or some shorts or some jeans and a t-shirt. You never thought about those things. But when I came to Vegas, you have to be very mindful of not only what you wear, but what time of the day you're leaving the house, whether or not you have air conditioning, whether or not you have a sweater. It's like all these things you have to consider. And then Florida, just forget about it. You get 3 seasons in one day. So no matter what you wear, it's never the right thing to wear.
Yeah, that's very true. And that was one of the reasons I actually, high cost of living in San Diego. I think majority of California residents move to or flock to Vegas, even Hawaii, and the tropical islands, they move out here because it's significantly cheaper cost living wise.
Correct.
And that was one of the turndowns or turnoffs in San Diego. It was just like, it's too much, you never have savings. And so, came out here, and then you went to Wells Fargo. Tell us all about that briefly.
Yeah, so started at Wells back in 96 and started as a part-time teller, quickly became a branch manager probably in a year and a half. And then hence what brought me, part of me coming to Vegas was to become a branch manager. And from there, I became a district manager, an area president, a regional president. Then I left Wells and went to City National Bank to become an executive market leader for business banking and consumer banking. Did that for about a year, and then went to U.S. Bank and spent about 2 to 3 years at U.S. Bank. Was a market leader, an executive market leader for U.S. Bank, where I ran consumer bank, business bank, digital banking, marketing, investment banking, all verticals of banking. And then left banking to jump into this world of entrepreneurship. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur since a young child. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. And I always thought banking was a stepping stone to that. But as you know, when you get into banking, sometimes 1 year turns into 20 years pretty quickly.
Right. They keep you busy.
They keep you busy. Yeah.
I'm a banking man myself. And so, Mia, I know Morris through Miss Marianne Pearson of PBSN. Is she still the president of PBSN, or
she?
Philippine,
whether she's the president,
Society,
yeah,
right?
Whether she's the president or not, she still runs it.
I know. She's been there quite a while now. Even when I started back when she's been Wells Fargo, for the longest time.
Very long time.
And then I remember I was with Citibank, and then we met because she comes from the same city in the Philippines, from Cebu, so we speak the same dialect.
Yeah.
And so I know of the twins and her kids, and so we met here in Vegas already.
Yeah.
So Mia, you know Philippine Visayas Society, right? Marianne Pearson. Say hi to Tita Marianne Pearson. I think she's watching.
Yeah. I know she's in Texas right now with her grandkids. So so I hope she is watching.
Okay. So so from there, you dived into the entrepreneur world, as a crazed entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I can see that you do real estate, and then you have lending, real estate, and then your esports thing. Let's touch on the real estate and the entrepreneur side of your business very briefly here. And what do you do there?
Yeah. So when I left banking, the first thing I wanted to do was understand more about real estate investments, and so picked up a few residential properties across the U.S., mainly focusing on short-term rental models, and then end up building a thesis on how that worked really well and how it drove a great return on investment, and started sharing that with my clients that have always trusted me in terms of advice and guidance. So myself and one other partner really started to engage in that. We went from investing in residential homes to apartment complexes. And then we started investing in raw dirt, and then raw dirt led into building hotels. And so now,
What year did you start, by the way, when you left the bank? Did you go and become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so that was, what are we in, 2024? So I would say I left the bank 2020. 2021 is when I left the bank.
2020. This was during COVID?
It was right after COVID.
After COVID.
So what ended up happening during COVID, I wanted to make certain, because I saw, again, team members being furloughed, workforce reductions within the bank. A lot of those things just didn't sit well with me. I didn't like the fact that during some of the most challenging times that our people were facing, we just, companies and organizations didn't find a way to protect employees.
Right.
Not just from a health perspective, but from a financial perspective.
Right.
Because as you know, if you're financially impacted, it's gonna impact your mental health too. So we end up creating, I think there's a big crater in people's minds for what happened during that time, because emotionally, physically, everyone was impacted by that. And so when I saw that, after we transitioned our team through it, things, everything started to open up again. That's when I said, it's probably time for me now to start living my dream versus, living someone else's dreams or expectations.
That's true.
Jumped into buying some real estate. Then after I proved out some of these theses worked, I started helping others invest into the same thing. And then just got fortunate enough to, find ways to not only, turn real estate property into revenue generating properties to make income, started to find ways to building hotels. So I always tell people, I figured out how to play Monopoly at a later age, right?
Yeah.
Where I went from buying one home to apartment complex to hotels, which was a lot of fun.
Wow. During that short span of time.
Yeah,
So you must have
Yeah.
like dove into something that was really unclear from working, and then you were like, COVID. Do you think I will prosper during COVID? But I know Mia here is a realtor, so we had quite an influx of business during COVID. For some reason, I guess people were like scared into staying or renting or the uncertainty, but I don't know. It's a mix. Mia, what did you see why people were buying homes back then? I think you were buying homes too, but was it cheaper back then, Mia?
Well, the interest rates were good back then.
True. True.
Yeah.
That's one of the factors too.
I agree with Mia. Money
Yeah.
was cheap back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I mean, so to buy a house, even an investment property at that time, and still get a 5-6% interest rate on a property, it was easier to service the debt based on the income you were making on the property. And then we all know with your primary residence,
Yeah.
I mean, interest rates were as low as 2%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just cheap money everywhere,
Right.
which made it advantageous to find investment opportunities.
And it was lower. The values of homes were lower because it was very steadily increasing. But
Yeah.
after COVID, it's just the influx. Like we were, flooded with a lot of business.
Yeah.
Hey, can I buy a house right now? It's like it's COVID. But people were like left and right. They were
Yeah.
just like, I want to move into a home. I don't want to stay in an apartment anymore because we're getting the virus in an apartment complex. There's a lot of people and they want the isolation of having a home. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I've observed. So, but in your case, after getting homes, you bought buildings like right after that. You dove into commercial, or did you do it all at once?
Yeah, no. Right after that, I would say real quick to go back. I think another reason why people started buying homes is that during COVID, we all got to slow down a little bit. So I think a lot of people spent time really educating themselves, and now had the chance to teach themselves why home ownership is important, right? So I think we had more conscious buyers and more I would say knowledgeable buyers, and now they saw a reason why. And again, not only money's cheap, they wanted more isolation or protection, but also they had a chance to really educate themselves on the power of being a homeowner, right?
True.
But
realization.
It's realization. It was like an awakening almost, right?
Because a lot of people were like very comfortable just renting. Rent is cheap, and they, with the time, with all the time that they had, social media and everything, it opened their mind that I should just own a home. It's almost the same as paying rent, or the value of owning a home has much more than renting.
Yeah, but then from there, I started buying a few places, and then started to learn how to not only access the capital to buy investment property. Started identifying different parts of the world that investment properties, or I would say opportunities for investors. Like Florida is an amazing place for investment properties, right?
It's a retirement state.
Retirement state, and we found this great city outside of the Villages, Florida, called Wildwood.
So you do business in Florida as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife she's a real estate agent here in town. She's licensed in Vegas and California and in Florida, because that's where we typically look for a lot of our investment opportunities.
So it's a partnership for you. And
nah, it's more like she runs it and I just listen to her.
Okay.
I'm her employee.
Okay. So, but that's a good combination there, because you do the lending as well.
Yeah.
And that's why this show, I do the lending side, and Mia has her expertise in the real estate side, and so we kind of impart a lot of information to a lot of home buyers out there and small businesses as to how this is valuable to them.
Yeah.
Speaking of entrepreneurship, do you have any other do you have questions for Mr. Morris here, Mia, on the real estate end?
Actually, I'm more curious about what made you dive into entrepreneurship, being, an employee for a long time.
I know, huh?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would tell after I was raised by my mom and my grandfather, and with my grandfather being an entrepreneur, He owned a carpet cleaning business in Peoria, Illinois, called Owens Carpet Cleaning. It was a staple in our family. I remember working there as a young child and watching him grow as an entrepreneur. I saw the impact he made on his community by creating jobs and creating opportunities where sometimes opportunities were lost. And then I just remembered the legacy he had. Even after he closed the business, everyone still knew of him, but they always knew of him as Owens Carpet Cleaning because that was the name of his business. And so I've always admired that. And I also love the fact that when he built that business, it was something he was able to pass down to the next generation. Unfortunately, the 3 daughters he had, they had amazing careers themselves. And so none of them were interested in owning the business. So he ended up closing it down. But I still love the idea of him being able to do that. And so when I got into banking, I've always said from day one, this was supposed to be a stepping stone, right? So my 1 year turned into 5, 5 turned into 10, 10 turned into 20. And it just finally hit me after seeing everything that happened during the pandemic. I realized I wasn't living my life. I was living someone else's life, right? And I'm a big believer that God puts us on this planet for a reason, a purpose. And I wasn't feeling as if I was fulfilling my purpose. And so and luckily I have a very supportive wife who's been an entrepreneur for years, being a real estate agent. And she convinced me to jump out the airplane, cut the umbilical cord, and just go out on my own. And so I did it, and luckily it's all worked out, and it's been great. But I quickly find new opportunities because now that I've figured out how to solve one problem, I like to solve as many as I can. So which is kind of led to the rise of all the different business ventures I've ended up jumping into.
Very good, very good. So the other lending that you have, real estate and then lending for, I know Tita Marian talked to me about those who are not like a perfect fit for the bank. If I'm starting my own business, I know Mia wants to venture into opening up a small business. So how does that work in this business of yours? How does it work?
Yeah, so we after starting the business around real estate, I throughout the years in banking, I was fortunate enough to develop an amazing network of not just customers, but also a great network of banks that I've always I've learned to come familiar with, or even lending companies I've come to become familiar with. I did get my degree at Pacific Coast Banking School, which is at the University of Washington. And the great thing about that 3-year program is that it gave you the opportunity to meet bankers and lenders from all financial services industries within one platform. And so it was a big melting pot for networking, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I'm big at meeting new people, finding out what their strengths are, and holding on to that in my tool belt because you never know when you're going to need it, right?
True.
And so when I left banking, when I had clients who would want to invest in a project, I then, one of the issues they typically ran into is, well, how am I going to finance this? Like, where do I go? And so I knew what the banks can do, but on some investment real estate properties, banks don't have a big appetite for that, especially if you have multiple properties. So I end up having to call a lot of those resources that I've always used or that I've known of from Pacific Coast Banking School to say, hey, here's the deal that I have. Here's the write-up on it. Tell me, does this fit your thesis? And I would get a yes or a no, or here's what else I need to see, and we'll put the package together, and we got deals done. And then someone came to me who I knew was a really good friend of mine. Matter of fact, was one of my managers when I was in banking. Said, hey, we need to start a business with this. Like, let's broker these deals.
Right. So you're a broker.
I'm a broker.
Right.
So I work with lenders like yourself on deals that constantly get passed my way. I get deals not only from entrepreneurs, but I also get deals from a lot of athletes and entertainers who are, again, their tax returns and their income structure looks a little different.
Right.
And so we just help them find the right lender who understands how to read their tax returns, how to read their cash flow statements, and say, and get them the yes. And so we really help our customers find the yes, where a lot of times if you walk into your bank branch.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get those. So it's outside of the cookie cutter type bank, guidelines, and I'm in financing. So it's like, if I want to start my own business and like I don't know where to go, I have not even had my, banks, they require 2 year. You start with your own funds first. You need to save up some money and establish that 2 years if you are, worthy to have the bank lend you some money for more capital, right? So if I come to you and say, hey, I have this experience in preparing food, I did it on my own from home, and then I don't have any tax returns to show, there may be a possibility for you to be able to lend us some capital for that,
or find the source to lend.
Find the source.
Absolutely. So great example of, we have someone who has been working their whole life or been doing something that was a passion of theirs, and now want to turn that passion into a business, then they come to us. And what we do is kind of similar to what I saw my banker, or the banker, did for my grandfather. We help them understand the business that they currently are working in or working on. We help them develop a business plan. Then we help them develop financial projections and understand what assumptions go into that financial projections. And then we challenge some of those, right? So stress testing.
Right.
And then from there, we start to develop a loan package or a capital package, let's say, because capital doesn't always have to come from a lender. Capital can come from, it can be an equity raise. It can be your own money. It can be, there's many different sources to find capital. A lot of times, to your point, if it's let's say someone who's been cooking and catering from home, and now they want to turn that into a business, they technically they've already been generating revenue, right? Especially if they're selling the product or goods, and they might need their licenses and some other things. So we just make certain all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and then we put together a package. Then based on the package, we find that lender or that financial services industry that likes that particular narrative, right? Or if we feel like this is more in that early stage and it requires other sources of capital, maybe like an equity investor, we then find those equity investors within our network. And then third, if they don't want to go outside of their network, we help them find that equity investor within their own network, typically friends and families. Like, again, if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something that people love, typically family and friends who are already receiving benefit of what you're doing want to help you build your dream, right? And it doesn't have to be large dollar amounts. It can be small, and we kind of help build that narrative for that client.
Because a lot of people sometimes don't know where to start. Like Mia wants to start her own small boba shop, but she does not have any experience. And then she's gonna start making and experimenting at home, and then all of a sudden she's getting good at it. After a year, it's like, oh wow, I think I can do it on my own and put up a shop, or possibly, hey, I have my own capital right now, I want to rent, but I need capital funding. So you would go to the Bank of Morris here. That's where you should start and ask. And but of course, you like our previous guest, he does the wholesale distribution of boba, and he does consulting as well. Like this is how you should do it, and I have already set up a few boba shops, and they kind of coach you. And do you do coaching as well?
We do, yeah. So we work with clients. We literally we say three things. We can either tell you what to do and you can do it yourself, and that's a free service. I don't charge for that advice. If I say, hey, do A, B, and C, and you're off to the races, right? And I just walk away. You can do it yourself. We do have a service where we do it with you. where we actually hold your hand and we walk through every step of it with you to help you accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. And then we have our third service where we don't do it for you, but we do the heavy lifting for you. Where if let's say you're a chef again and you just love to cook, but you don't want to write a business plan, you don't want to have to build financials because you don't have a finance degree. And financials, if you don't love numbers, it can be a headache, right? And you don't want to have to write your resume. Like, we do that all for you, but we do it with getting to know you as the client. So we have those three services, but it's really, we want to make it easier for those who have a passion to go after their dream, to lift them to their dream. And so it almost, the only thing we require, to be honest with you, is to be ready to sprint. Like, we want people who are taking their entrepreneur journey seriously, because the time and investment that goes into it, not only on our part but their part, is what's needed. And so as long as the entrepreneur is ready and they're willing to go after their dream and ready to sprint towards their dream, we're here to lift them.
Realize that dream, you know, turn it into reality. Because people are just, I dream of becoming an entrepreneur, but it's staying a dream.
In here, exactly. It's like a singer. I dream of being a singer, but I don't sing to the world. Well, guess what? You'll be a singer in the shower. You won't be a professional singer. Do
you have any input, Mia?
No, I'm just curious, where is this passion for helping entrepreneurs coming from?
Great. Great question again. Honestly, it comes from my grandfather. Again, he was, Louis Owens was his name, and he is someone that I admire, that I look up to. I wish he was still with us today, because I would thank him a million times over. The only thing I do regret, in my younger years, he used to try to take me golfing, and I never wanted to go. And now I'm an avid golfer, and I enjoy the game so much now. But he's passed on not only my passion, but my inspiration and my willingness to be more, because of what he's shown me. And I just want, and now what I just want to do is give to others what was given to me. Because it's just, it's what God told me to do, to be honest with you. So,
speaking of golf, the rise of esports. Tell us very briefly on that. We're almost running out of time.
Oh, wow.
It's like, it's
boy, how 30 minutes go by.
I know. But this was the title of our topic here. But I think esports became because of your route as an entrepreneur, and then it's like you wear a lot of hats, as an entrepreneur, right? It's not because you work for yourself now, and you don't work like you said, you can't be fulfilling somebody else's dream. You have to fulfill your dream. You can't be working for somebody else for a long time. Go ahead. Oh, there you go.
So esports is competitive gaming online, right? Where there are, now everyone knows of video games, right? You have your Super Mario Brothers, you have your Fortnite, you have your Rocket League, Roblox, but not all of those video games are considered esports. The games that are considered esports are those games where competition exists. So when you are going up against someone else. So, for example, if you played Super Mario Brothers, it's just you versus the computer and trying to beat a level. That's not an esports game. But what they sometimes will do with that game is do what they call a time run, where if you beat it in a certain time, then that's how they create the competitive aspect. But what I love about esports is the ability to create competition against other people, right? Again, time runs, battles, battle royales, things of that nature. And so what we're doing is we're really shining a light on not only what esports is, but also the benefits that esports brings to any gamer, whether young, whether old, whether retired. There's so many benefits that it brings to this world that honestly, I played football my entire life, and I wrestled. And but esports, but those sports, right, they give you the ability to work with others and learn plays and execute those plays, and even some leadership skills and communication skills. But the skills you learn from esports, not only are you learning how to game, but you are learning you're learning digital literacy. You're learning tech forward strategies. You're learning problem solving skills. You're learning what I call the skills for tomorrow, today. And so a lot of our kids, if you ever watch them play a game like Fortnite, or watch them play a game like Minecraft, for example, the problems they're solving in their fast twitch muscles and their ability to think ahead and solve for problems. It's like chess on steroids. They see things coming before it even happens. Those are all skills that are transferable into the real world. But the problem is because esports today is typically played and trained in isolation. Mainly domestically, because internationally, like if you go to China, Korea, it's done in community. And so there's a lot of teaching and mentorship and growing, hence why the international gamers are always highly more talented and more successful than domestically, because we isolate our gamers. And so this isolation causes our kids and our gamers not to realize these skills that I've acquired, how they can apply into other aspects in other careers. And so what we're really looking to do is help not only kids identify that, but help parents see that gaming is not a bad thing. Gaming's not rotting their brains or causing bad habits. It's the lack of education that's not happening when someone is gaming that causes the bad behaviors. And so we're looking to we're integrating that education, which is necessary.
So from virtual into application into reality, those things that you've learned in the virtual world. Wow. And you see a lot of this, and it has become a problem. Like parents, they're hammering their kids, and saying, hey, gaming is bad because they're I guess staying up all night and all this, but as a matter of fact, they're actually exercising their brain, just like a senior playing Sudoku. They're exercising that just so they will maintain their brain activity.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're developing a muscle that we can't see. It's in their head, right? And if you ever, and the abilities you see these kids acquire from this, it's one of the best sights you'll ever see. Just watching, when you watch a 6-year-old get on a PC with a keyboard and mouse and navigate that keyboard like a trained professional, it is so impressive. And this is a 6-year-old child doing this, right? And so it's just, again, and the digital literacy is advancing more and more because of how much technology is leading our world. Like, think of a kid today who doesn't operate a cell phone. Like everyone does. And so because of that tech forward approach in everything we do, there's tremendous amount of benefits of leaning in more to esports and not pulling away.
So it is humanly possible, because even not with computer, you can see a 3-year-old playing the violin, like trained from when they were at maybe a year old, and with training and everything. And so you could see the power of the human brain right there. And then with the exposure to technology nowadays, it's limitless, I guess. Mia, you had a question?
Well, my kids do gaming, and I think Morris mentioned before the show that he makes the kids go out, because I just realized that the kids want to stay at home because they want to play. They want to play in their rooms and their game. You mentioned something about encouraging them to go.
So the great thing about Valhallan, right? We realized, again, the enormity of what can be taught to a kid, right? But to Mia's point, the piece that was missing was the socializing piece, because kids were used to, they want to stay at home.
Before you proceed, Valhallan is another business of yours, right?
So
it's another business entity that you own.
That is correct. Valhallan is another business entity that I own. It is an esports training facility for kids between the age of 5 and 17. And that number 5 keeps going down lower and lower because the kids are becoming more digital literate as they get as they start to, as more kids are born, right? But it is a training facility. We currently have 3 locations across the US. We have one here in Vegas, we have another one in Sacramento, California, and a third one in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And you were going to address the issue of what Mia was asking, like their encouragement, going outside to the real world or socializing and stuff like that. But I don't know how you do it, maybe virtually or maybe actually coming into Valhallan.
We encourage them to come into the facility. So what we do is we built these.
Is it a school, by the way, or a center?
It's a center. Yeah, it's a brick and mortar. It's a center. I almost call it, it's more like a jiu-jitsu studio or a karate dojo where we bring kids together. Kids come in, they are given an assessment, and so we determine their game of choice, their skill level in that game, their strengths, and also areas that we can help develop. Once we know that, then we place them on a team, and then we also give every single one of our kids a coach that will help them on their growth and journey as an esports gamer. But then the most impressive part, and this helps the parents see the value of this, we enter them into a league, and we have our very own league called the Valhallan Esports League. It's a league that's only built for gamers between the age of 5 and 17. So you don't have gamers who are over the age of 18 participating, because when you're 18 and you graduate from high school, if you choose not to work and want to just practice gaming all day, that's not really fair to the kids who have to balance, school and home responsibilities and limited time on their gaming consoles to compete. So we bring them in, we determine their skill sets, we put them on a team, we enter them into our league, and we teach them the art of how to compete in the world of esports. And so now, not only are they learning how to be competitors, and could be, if they wanted to, a professional esports gamer, but they're also learning the art of all the skills that come from this world of esports. But to Mia's point, we want to bring them from out of their homes and bring them into community, where their teams, they get to see face to face, they get to build relationships, but not only their team players, but also their coaches. Their coaches end up becoming mentors to them. So it really brings about that the socializing that needs to exist in every single one of our kids' world.
And this is something very new, but on the virtual spectrum of the modern world nowadays, because I think your concept is just like sending your kids to piano lessons, right? They have time for piano lessons, and time management is very important, because you cannot just be leaving them, say, hey, I'm going to Valhallan for like 5, 6, 7 hours, because you have other responsibilities, and you teach them that, right? Just like piano lessons, only 40 minutes or an hour of piano lessons, and then you get to go back to reality.
Correct.
And fulfill your responsibilities.
But we also, with that, we also accompany that with, we want the kids to stay and socialize, right? Because just coming in, practicing, training, competing, and then leaving can still cause, I almost call this their third space, right? So every single one of us has a third space, right? Like when I get home from work, my third space is a certain place on the couch where I'm going to watch my movies or read a book. That's my third space. Every kid has a third space, and this is considered their third space. What we don't want is for them to leave our center, go home, and just go right back into gaming. So we encourage our kids to stay, watch other kids compete, watch other kids practice, but also hang out and socialize with the other kids. And what's been most impressive, I love seeing when a kid comes to us for the first time and they're an introvert, and then over the course of 3 to 4 weeks, they become an extrovert. Only because they are in their settings and in their element, and with people who understand them and people who get them. They just find their comfort zone, which is great.
Wow. This is a very, very, like, we have a wide topic here. I wish we had more time. I think I'm gonna invite Morris here for a part 2 on the rise of esports, because I know we touched on his entrepreneurial side, personal and your real estate. if that's okay with
Yeah.
you, we can invite you for a second Rise of Esports Part 2.
Yeah.
So we can talk more, because I think it helps the community, especially young kids, especially parents, how they can, deal with that kind of situation. Because nowadays it's like video games are always bad.
Yeah.
Video games are always bad. And it gives you that psychology wherein they're spending too much time with video games and not with their parents anymore. No more family time.
Correct.
And that's not how we were raised,
No.
The especially the Gen X and the baby boomers were like work,
Yeah.
and not have time. Now we learned from that. Then the Gen X was like, we want to balance time.
Yep.
And then now it's more work from home. We have a lot of time, but our kids are spending too much time with video games now.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? It's the reverse.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have to be better at meeting our kids where they're at versus trying to pull them off of things that they love to do and force them to do what we like to do.
Yeah.
Just because you and I like to play outside, because I remember when I was a kid, I would fight to go outside. Matter of fact, my parents would put me on restriction and where I couldn't go outside because that's where I wanted to be the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, now in this generation, that's changed. Kids want to be on their games.
Yeah.
And so rather than trying to pull them away from what they love, one thing we do at our centers is help parents lean into what they love.
Yeah.
So we do a family game night every month where we invite the parents to come in and play with the kids. And we find games where parents and kids can play together. But you see this amazing bond happen when you finally meet your kids where they're at.
Yeah.
And kids appreciate that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We'll hold that for part 2. Do you agree?
I
We'll have
agree.
a part 2.
Let's
Mia,
do it.
Mia, we'll have a part 2 on this one, because I think
want
we
to
have.
commend you also. I think the age cap, the age limit is a good idea. It makes it safer.
Yeah,
the kid.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah,
that,
you're
especially
spot
those
on.
younger kids, very sensitive, and then they have not fully matured yet, and they really don't know, and sometimes they just believe in what the gaming world tells them to do. And we get a lot of cyber attackers out there too.
Cyberbullies.
Yeah,
Yep.
cyberbullies. Yeah. So that's one thing that we will address in the maybe in the next one. Let's schedule it, Mr. Morris. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's very interesting. So I think we can help the community, be better informed this way. So, all right. Unfortunately, we have come to our very last part of our segment, which is our joke time. Have you prepared a joke for us, Mr. Morris?
I did.
You're going to be the first one.
Okay, so my joke is, why don't skeletons fight each other?
Why don't skeletons fight each other? Do you have an answer for that, Mia? Because if we get to answer your joke, I think our studio director will give us $100.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Crack bones.
What is it?
They crack bones.
They crack bones?
No. That was good, though. I like that.
Okay, go. What's the answer?
They don't have the guts.
That's a good one. Okay, Mia, your turn for your joke.
I heard. Why did the tomato blush?
Why did the tomato blush? I think I know this answer, so I'm getting $100 for this. Why did tomato blush? Because it's red.
No.
Do you have an answer?
Oh, because it's squishy? I don't know.
No.
Okay, what's your answer, Mia?
Because it saw the salad dressing.
Oh!
That's good.
Okay, my turn. What's the least trustworthy animal?
Cat.
Nah.
Ooh, a raccoon?
Ah. Neither. Neither of you are right. You know which one is the least trustworthy animal? It's a cheetah. It's a cheetah. All right, folks, we've come to the end of our program. Thank you so much, Mr. Morris, Mr. Morris Jackson. We will see you on the part 2 of Buhay Bahayan. See you again. Thank you to our audience, and watch us at Buhay Bahayan every Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Thank you so much. See you.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
From your PHLV radio family, Merry Christmas and all the best in the coming year.
Merry Christmas from your friends at PHLV Radio.